We want to get you to some breaking news here, though. Unemployment figures have just been released for the month of October. Gurpreet's here to break it down for us. What jumps out for you, Gurpreet?
Yeah, so the headline rate of unemployment has risen to 5.1% in October. Just to put that in a bit of context, that's the highest unemployment rate now we've had since early 2021. So deep, dark days of the pandemic, of the lockdowns. And to give you a sense of what's kind of happened over the past year, when we talk about a 5.1% unemployment rate, in the year to November, about 171,000 staff roles have disappeared from payrolls. 171,000 people. Now, that's a mixture of people retiring and not being replaced. It might be people who have actually been sacked. It might be employers just not kind of pulling up the ladder on graduate recruitment. But 171,000, 38,000 on the month alone. So this is quite significant. And all of which is to say it's a lot more competitive out there to get a job. So not only are there more people now looking for work, but vacancies, if we look back to kind of 2022, they've been pretty much consistently shrinking quarter on quarter. We've had a bit of let up here and there. Most recently, the figures show us that vacancies were flat, but they're still lower than they were back in 2022. And the best way to really think about that is to look at the ratio of unemployed person to job. Now, there are 2.5 unemployed people for every job that's out there. This time last year, we were talking about 1.8. And I think it's just worth saying that all of this is really hurting young people the most because it's entry-level work. If you look at those vacancies, it's at the entry level that they're really shrinking. And there's a lot going on there. We know things like retail, hospitality, which have been really hit hard by employment taxes, by NICS increases. They have been shrinking, and they're the ones that give opportunities to young people often. Also have graduate jobs. There's a lot going on structurally in the employment market with AI. Maybe NICS has encouraged some businesses to accelerate investment in AI because now employment is so expensive. But there's loads going on here. And this is before we even get to talk about all the people that aren't even showing up in the employment figures because they're not even looking for work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to summarise that, the first line of the ONS statement, Gurpreet, says the overall picture continues to be one of a weakening labour market, and the statement goes on to say the fall in payroll and the increase in unemployment has been seen particularly among some younger age groups. So completely agree with that summary. Tell us about some of the people you've been speaking to on the front line. Yeah,
I mean, it's just worth saying on that youth unemployment is actually rising among at the fastest pace in the G7, just to point that out. So that's a big story here. Yeah, so I talked about the people who aren't even looking for work. There are millions of people who don't even show up in these figures because they're inactive. They're what we call economically inactive. Many of them too sick to work, or say they're too sick to work. And there are a group of people who are really troubling policymakers here in Westminster. They're scratching their heads, trying to figure out how to get them into work because it's getting more and more expensive to keep them on benefits. We're talking about maybe 100 billion it's going to cost in sickness and disability benefits by the end of the Parliament. And I wanted to understand what's keeping these people out of work. Because here we talk about carrot, we talk about stick, we talk about, is the benefit system too generous? Are people genuinely suffering from mental health crises? Is it waiting lists that are the problem? And so I spent some time with a programme called Jobs Plus, and they work in communities that are suffering from high levels of worklessness. And I wanted to ask them exactly what the barriers are that people are facing. And I want to show you a little clip from the piece that I did. The full report is online. But this is Sally, who's working on the Bidston Rise housing estate in Birkenhead. Have a listen to what she had to say. How many people would you say that you've worked with are dealing with debt?
I'd say about half the people that we're working with have been facing some sort of debt. Some of that is bills that they've not been able to pay. We've had one person that we supported who their debt had caused them to be cut off for their internet and their telephone, which meant that they couldn't do things like get online to do job search, get in touch with us even.
So my conclusions from this report is that it's just really complicated. There's so much going on. There's not one easy answer to all of this. But as I said, have a look online, check out the full report if you're interested.
Gurpreet, great stuff. Thanks again. As the headline being there that the unemployment rate ticked up again to 5.1% for October.